Hello, 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 Facebook family. Elevate. February 14th on Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Um, the subject today is the illiterate of the 21st century. The illiterate of the 21st century. So just want to welcome you guys. I know it's Valentine's Day. I expect people to be doing their thing, but we didn't want to miss another week. So we wanted to make sure that we came on today. But it's Facebook Live, episode 123. The illiterate of the 21st century. So I wanted to hope that you guys are having a great day and enjoying your Valentine's Day. If you haven't had some good things happen already, I'm sure some things are going to happen later on today, dinners and such. But this is such a motivating subject matter to me, basically, just because of what I do for a living. The whole goal of Elevate is to share leadership principles and to hopefully shape perspectives and to give hope to people out there who are desiring to move up the corporate ladder or just desiring to move up through life in general. So right now, I wanted to make sure that we give a shout out to Karen. Karen is doing better. Keep praying for her. She's making great progress. Very happy that things are going the way they're going with Karen. So you guys keep praying for her and keep her in your thoughts. I also wanted to add to that list, prayer list, the shooting at Lakewood. What a tragedy. I guess it could have been a lot worse. But man, that is crazy when I heard that. And also the shooting at the Kansas City parade. So the Kansas City Chiefs win the Super Bowl and then they celebrate today. And then there's a shooting today, and one person has passed away, and I think about 8 to 10 people were injured. And so just we can keep those situations in our prayers and try to move forward. On a lighter note, I wanted to celebrate Shar. She was asked to cater a movie premiere for Mia Copa. It's a Netflix movie starring Kelly Rowland. And it's a Tyler Perry movie, and she had to make. She was asked to make some custom cupcakes, and if you go to her website, you'll see what she did, which is cupcakeandasmile.com. I'm sure she will post something here on the strand here. So very happy for her. I think she took a nap right after she finished doing those cupcakes. How many cupcakes in the last few days? It was hundreds. It was hundreds. This season for her is a busy season. You can imagine. And then when you add the premiere of that movie and the cupcakes they needed, you can imagine it was a great thing for her and Cupcake and a Smile. So wanted to shout out to her. But today's topic, man, this is a powerful topic. And whenever we get into things that are, to me, this heavy, or things that have this kind of impact, I always worry about just making sure I communicate everything properly. It was really inspired by a quote by Alvin Toffler. And part of me wants to wait a little bit before we keep moving, just because to get more people on. But I understand a lot of people are doing things right now. So I'm just going to keep going. But this quote by Alan Toffler is pretty powerful. So before I go into that, I will say this. What is Elevate? Elevate. We talked about it. It's a leadership company. What we do is we teach influence. We teach leadership. We teach people what we do every day. My wife and I are leaders in our community. We're leaders in our fields. And what we do is we look for that person, and our ideal customer is that person that is recently promoted. They were in the ranks. They were doing a good job as an individual, and they were recently promoted to a leadership position. And although they were great as an individual, they do not know anything about leadership, or they don't know enough, and they know it because they're lacking. They know that they're lacking inside. Like, how do I get these people to move? I've been given charge over 5, 6, 7, 8 people. How do I get these people to move in the direction that I've been given instruction to? So how do I do it? Well, that would be our customer right there. We would teach that new leader the principles. Elevate is actually an acronym. E is expectations, the L is leadership, the E is ethics, the V is vision, the A is attitude, the T is temperaments, and the E is effectiveness. And that along in itself is the basic program. But we also do what we call like seminars, and this will be considered a mini seminar where we just hit certain topics and try to make sure that we uh, push certain points home. In different areas and different arenas in the leadership arena, I should say. So this is what we're doing today. So the today's topic is called "The Illiterate of the 21st Century," and it's really inspired by. And if you come on, please type your name because I've been getting. Let's see how Stephanie's on. I've been getting text all day about who's not going to be able to come, and I get it because it's Valentine's Day. So if nobody else gets this, it's going to be me on Stephanie and whoever else is on, and then everybody that gets the replay that's going to be recorded. So I wanted to restate what the quote is because this is inspired by a quote by Alvin Toffler, and it's the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And that is basically what this is all about today. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And it's about, that was by Alvin Toffler. So who is this guy? Alvin Toffler. Who is this guy? I wanted to give you a little quick shot, and he's a very interesting guy. So I'm trying to do this quickly because this is really not the whole message here, but I wanted to talk about this quickly. But who is Alvin Toffler? Alvin Toffler, I'm just going to read something real quick. He passed. He was born in 1928. He passed away in 2016. He was an American writer, and he was a businessman, but he was considered a futurist. He was a guy that would tell you what's coming in the future so you can get prepared for it. He's known for his works discussing modern technologies, including the digital revolution. And you got to remember, this guy died in 2016, but his first book was in 1970. He started predicting things. He predicted the fall of the Berlin Wall back in 1970. There's other things that he predicted, but the things that he's known for is including the digital revolution and the communication revolution, and with the emphasis on their effect on culture. So he started telling people how this digital age was going to affect culture. Toffler was an associate editor for Fortune magazine. In his early works, he focused on technology and its impact, which he termed the information overload. Hey, Aunt Linda, it's good to see you. In 1970, his first major book about the future was Future Shock. So you got to picture this. This guy is predicting all this stuff, the information age and all this back in 1970. He comes out with a book called Future Shock. It sells 6 million copies worldwide. 6 million is a lot, especially in the 1970s, right? He and his wife, Heidi Toffler, who collaborated with him for most of his writings, moved on to examine the reaction to changes in society with another best-selling book called The Third Wave. And they wrote that in 1980. In it, he foresaw the technological advances as cloning, personal computers, and the internet, cable television, mobile communication. His later focus via his bestseller Power Shift in 1990 was an increasing power of the 21st century military, hardware, and proliferation of new technologies. So this guy was seeing this stuff ahead of time, and and just to give you an idea of what kind of major player he was, I'm gonna just kind of give you a quick snapshot, and then I'll get off this page. To give you a quick snapshot of the kind of influence that this guy had. Alvin Toffler. Toffler visited with dignitaries all over Asia. One of them, Kim Dae-jung, all of whom were influenced by his views as Asia's emerging markets increased in global significance during the 1980s and 90s. So he has reach all the way in Asia. Although they had originally censored some of his books and ideas, China government decided to go along with him and Franklin Roosevelt and Bill Gates. These are people that are speaking into that area of the world, and these are people that they listen to. So they listen to Franklin Roosevelt, Bill Gates, and this guy Alfred Toffler. To give you another thing, U.S. House Speaker Newt Gingrich publicly lauded, praised the ideas about the future, and urged members of Congress to read his books. In 1980, Ted Turner founded CNN, which he said was inspired by Toffler's forecasting of the end and the dominance of the three main television networks. Turner's company, Turner Broadcasting, published Toffler's Creating a New Civilization in 1995. He also, Mikhail Gorbachev, hosted a global conference in San Francisco with the theme of Toward a New Civilization. That whole conference by Gorbachev was inspired by the ideas of Toffler. So this guy is huge as far as his impact. Mexican billionaire Carlos Slim. This guy, Carlos Slim, is still alive, if I'm not mistaken. Carlos Slim was influenced by his works and became a friend of the writer. Global marketeer J.D. Power. How many times have we heard the word J.D. Power? Also said he was inspired by Toffler's works. Techno music. Other musicians like Curtis Mayfield released songs called Future Shock based on the influence of Alvin Toffler. Also, Herbie Hancock. I can go on, but this guy was a major player that I didn't have no idea. I didn't know anything about this guy, but he was a major player behind the scenes, and people listened to what he had to say because a lot of times when he predicted things, he was right a lot of times. So that's that's Toffler. That's a good little bit so you can know who Alvin Toffler is. But the quote he said, and the quote that he said was written in 1970. This quote, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And for that to be written in the 1970s was powerful because, man, I mean, basically what he's saying is that things are going to move a lot faster. In his books, he says a lot of stuff about the different phases of society, the farming revolution, and then how we moved into the industrial revolution, and then how we moved in post-industrial revolution. But basically, he was saying that we got to learn a lot faster. He says if you do not have that ability, you're going to be considered illiterate. And it's funny because the whole reason I'm here talking today is that when I'm out there working with people, my job is to train and develop leaders. And when I'm working with these leaders, the number one thing I see is those inabilities. I see the inability to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So what I want to do is I really want to break down those three things real quick because I know it's 7:13. Fastest 30 minutes in social media. I know we only have a few of you guys out there. I showed 3. Is there anybody? I only see 2 people on the screen. Who else is out there? You're the third on the deal? All right. So I wanted to just go over real quick what we mean by learn. What we mean by learning is not confined to the years we spend in formal education. That ain't what we mean by learning. It is a lifelong journey that extends beyond the classroom. By embracing a mindset of lifelong learning, we remain adaptable, curious, and engaged with the world. That's what we mean by learning. So often what I see, and tell me if I'm wrong. I know you guys can chime in. Tell me if I'm wrong. What I see is, and studies back what I'm about to say, but a lot of times people will go to school, get their education, and then they stop. They've had studies that show that the average vocabulary stops growing at 24, just because usually, the average person takes 6 to 7 years to graduate from their 4-year degree, and that'll take them to about 24. And then you'll see their vocabulary stop growing because they feel like they're there already. They do not have the mentality that Alvin Toffler is talking about, which is learning, unlearning, and relearning, having a mindset. So the second one is unlearning, and I love this one. Unlearning is a powerful concept because this is twofold really. Unlearning, there's a quote that I love. It says, "The deepest sin against the human mind is to believe things without evidence." The deepest sin against the human mind is to believe things without evidence. So there's stuff that you believe that's in there, and it's just not true, right? And while unlearning is important, it is equally essential to unlearn. So there's things that we believe that some people call it guiding fiction. Some people call it a blind spot, whatever term you want to use. But at the end of the day, you're walking in instruction that's not true. Unlearning involves shedding outdated knowledge, beliefs, habits, and perspectives that no longer serve us. Unlearning is next only is not only about becoming aware of spots, but also about understanding the wisdom of Satchel Paige. So it's not only about things that you just take in that's not true. Uh, but Satchel Paige had a quote that says, "It's not what you don't know that hurts you; it's what you know that just ain't so." So it's not just about blind spots. It's about things that you just believe with everything in you that are just not true. So unlearning, and then to relearn. Relearning involves staying informed about emerging trends and technologies. Relearning requires a willingness to step outside of our comfort zones to seek new learning opportunities and continuously upgrade our skills. So to learn, to unlearn, and to relearn is a part of life. And it kind of goes to what we talk about in Elevate. Be intentional, focus on growth, and elevate now. So it's a commitment, and it's not easy. I get it. It's a lot easier to play and have fun and just to enjoy life. I mean, it takes a commitment if you want to be that person that is committed to growth, and especially when it's a lifelong commitment, and especially in this day and age, right, where things are just going, going, going. You know, so those are those three broken down. Um, uh, I I feel like I want to do this justice, but man, the time is going. It's 7:17. But the thing that um, I really wanted to take away from this, and I only have three takeaways from this quote, which is the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Some would say, well, what's really, haven't we always had to relearn? Haven't we always had to learn? Haven't we always had to unlearn? Yes, but the pace of it is so much greater now. The pace of it, that process. Think about it. How long the agrarian culture lasted. Think about. I think the Industrial Revolution started like in the mid 1700s and ended in the mid 1950s. So you're talking about centuries of things being the same way. Well, now things are moving a lot faster. So a person might live and die, and they might have been their father, them, and their kids probably rode horses, right? Now, now it's different now, right? The cars, the Model T came on the scene. Things are different now. Now you can't picture somebody riding a horse from one city to the next. But that was the life for a while. But now we just rush through now, and then we have this information age, and things are just moving super fast. The world is getting smaller and smaller, and the data proves it. So what do I mean by that? So my first takeaway is this: no matter what no matter what the era, people are the constant. When you look at that quote, there's two constants in that quote. One is people, and that first constant, people. I mean, from 1900, we only had 1.6 billion people on the planet. Now we're up to 8 billion people on the planet. When you look at it from a per square kilometer, you're talking about they didn't even keep track of how many people were in each square kilometer back in 1900s. But then in 1970, there was about 25 people per square kilometer. And you just got to picture this in your mind. Picture two tracks. Like, we used to run track. That track, a kilometer is over 2 laps around that track. It's over 2 laps, right? But back in 1970, there was only 25 people on those two tracks. Now there's 54 with 8 billion people on the planet. So we're being forced to communicate and to deal with each other more and more and more because there's more of us. And the world is getting smaller and smaller because we can connect and we can hear about things that are going on all over the world, like in nanoseconds, right? When I heard about the shootings in Kansas City, they heard about it in China. Whoever was watching TV first, that's who heard about it first. Things are just going a lot faster. So the one takeaway I have there is that people are the constant. There's a constant in that quote. The second takeaway I have is that if you're not a part of that cycle of learning, unlearning, and relearning, then you will be clueless or critical and eventually be a casualty of this information age, of this growing, fast moving society. you will be a casualty. And it doesn't mean you will die, but another term of casualty just means that you will be badly affected by it. You could either be the person that runs with it and is trying to keep up, or you can be the person that gets run over by it. You can be the person that don't even realize you're getting run over, or you can be the person that's critical of this moving society. The times have changed. This is different. Things are different nowadays. This, and this, and that, because you are the critical person. But you don't want to become a casualty of this event and be badly affected, because at the end of the day, it is what it is. So you have to be a part of that process, the learning, the unlearning, and the relearning. The third, which is 721, the third constant besides people in that quote, I feel like I'm just blowing by. And forgive me when it's only three people. I'm sorry, Aunt Stephanie and Linda. I'm sorry, but when it's only three, I kind of go a little fast. I feel like I'm going fast. Am I going fast? And I didn't even say hi to Shar, y'all. Shar's right here. She baked her 5,000 cupcakes, whatever it was. She's sitting here. She hasn't been here. You weren't here last week, were you? Yeah, she was baking. But she's here. But the other constant besides people is the concept of change. And man, I could spend all day on this. This is something that I hope that I get really good at. I want to get really good with people, and I want to get really good with dealing with the concept of change. And the first part of change I want to talk about is that we kind of talked about this a while back. We had a Facebook Live, and I don't know if anybody remembers, but we had a Facebook Live where we said, hey, if we listed these arbitrary concepts, where would you put work in these concepts? The concept of work, where would you order it? Would love be first? Would your creator be first? With courage, or with faith, with love? Which concept? How would you rank these concepts? And on the end of that Facebook Live, I talked about how I believe the creator, whoever you believe that to be, that's number one. But number two is work ethic. I believe that, because if it doesn't matter, whoever you believe your God is, you're going to have to work to understand them. Whoever you're going to be working next to in life, you're going to have to work to understand them. Work ethic is huge. And at the end of the day, to have that mindset is so important. So that's the first part of dealing with the concept of change, having that work ethic. Two is the evolution of the society. We used to talk about IQ all the time. It used to be the thing. Oh, this person just naturally smart. Oh, I wonder what their IQ is. Oh, so-and-so is part of Mensa. They're a genius. Oh man, that used to be the talk, right? And then we start seeing people that were super smart start to fail because they couldn't handle pressures of life. And then the second thing came out called EQ, which is emotional quotient. How well balanced are you? Are you able to handle the ups and downs and the highs and lows of life? So EQ became the thing. But now the thing is, which is going to be the final thing, I believe, is AQ, which is adaptability. That's a person that can deal with change. And what this is just the evolution, the IQ, the EQ, the AQ. And then the last point I want to make is some powerful quotes about change. And this one, and it's just it's three quotes. But Socrates said, the secret of change is to focus all your energy, not on fighting the old, but in building the new. He says, when you're trying to change, don't waste time trying to stop doing something. Just spend all your energy trying to do whatever it is you're trying to do. He says, focus on that. And it really speaks to focus. Just focus. What are you focusing on? And then Jack Welch, who was considered the CEO, the best CEO in the world, he used to run General Electric back in the day. He says, change before you have to. That is a powerful quote. Change before you have to. That speaks to being proactive. And a lot of mistakes I've made as a leader is because I wasn't proactive. Case in point, we had a guy running the store who came to me and said, Curtis, man, and he was doing a good job. He was like, Curtis, man, I'm having problems with my family. My wife is sick. My boy's tripping, so on and so on. And I left him in that store. I said, can you still do the job? He said, yes, I can do the job. My fault, my mistake in that is because I should have changed before I had to. I should have made a change right then, because you know and I know, anybody that is in any kind of leadership role knows that you can't run people if your house is out of order. You can't. The guy came to me and told me that his house was falling apart. And I trusted him, which I shouldn't have, because of course he's going to say, yeah, he's in a bad position. It would have been better for me to say, listen, why don't you step down for a little while? We'll have somebody else run this store while you get things together. And the worst case that could happen is he sits down, and then maybe when things get back together, we put him back into his store. That was a cry for help. Exactly. So this guy was crying for help. And my first thought was, hey, can you keep this store going? And he said, yes. Less than 60 days, he quit the company. He said he can't do it anymore. And that's what when I read that quote, change before you have to, that's what I hear from Jack Welch. The last one is, I cannot change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination. That's by Jimmy Dean. I wonder if that's the same Jimmy Dean sausage. I think that's Jimmy Dean sausage, y'all. But I cannot change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination. That's the last point about change. Can you adjust? That's what it's all about. Can you adjust? It's about whatever change you go through. Do you put yourself in a position where you can adjust and minimize the onslaught of problems that could happen from the change? Or do you get caught in what we call the drama triangle, where you become a victim and somebody has to rescue you, and then somebody's a persecutor because you cannot adapt. So Aunt Stephanie's on their adaptability is the key. And that's why at the end of the day, man, I hope this year that I get really good at change, and I get dealing with change, expecting change, planning for change, changing before I have to. Do I get a heart attack before I start doing some push-ups and sit-ups and jump rope, or do I do it ahead of time? It's all the same stuff, right? But at the end of the day, it's about dealing with that, being able to be in a position to change and to deal with the things of change. So I know it's 7:28. I know it was kind of rushed. A lot of the ones that I got so much stuff here I want to say, but I kind of jumped through it. But if you got anything out of this, please type a 1 in if you got anything out of this, because that quote is powerful. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. That is thanks, Aunt Stephanie. That is a powerful quote, man. I would love to. I can see myself talking about this in greater detail in front of a group of people, because the truth is that a lot of times we don't. Life takes over and we stop. We stop relearning. We stop unlearning, and we stop learning. That's just the facts. And this guy saw this back in 1970. So thank you for your time. I hope you guys have a great Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, Aunt Stephanie, Aunt Linda. You guys have a great night. I really appreciate you guys coming on. If we're going to have some changes we're going to talk about in the future, but my goal this year, and man, I hate to say this out loud, but I'm going to say it. The goal this year is to get this book out for real, to get it out and just to get the pressure off of me. Every day I wake up with this pressure, and every day I don't do anything about it. So today I wrote down some plans for having the book done, and then next year having another quote book out. But it's 7:30. Really appreciate you guys. Please pray for Karen and those victims from the shootings, and from the Lakewood shooting, and also from the shooting in Kansas City today. You guys have a great one. Really appreciate you. Thanks a lot.